Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast for the Corn Belt. I'm Andrew Pritchard, meteorologist for Nutrien Ag Solutions. There's not a lot to be gathered from looking at the temperature plot here. We will continue to run a little bit warmer than average, but we're going to be doing some temperature fluctuations here as we watch a couple of storm systems move through, warming up in advance of that with warm air being drawn northward, but then cold air coming in on the backside. But colder shots of air when we're already dealing with, temperatures that are well above average. We're only really resetting things back to about where we should be this time of year. So each blast of cold air that comes in here on the backside going to just kind of get us back to about seasonally appropriate temperature levels. What is a little bit more obvious are the corridors of heavy precipitation here across North America. The first of which, of course, outside the Corn Belt here, with Pacific moisture being kind of blasted on the west coast of California and parts of the Pacific Northwest. But as it pertains to the Corn Belt, though, strong subtropical jet, we're going to see another storm system develop here, bringing precipitation to primarily central and eastern portions of the Corn Belt, heaviest as you head off toward the Mid-South and then far eastern portions of the Corn Belt. And that'll be the primary focus of this video. As we take a look at the satellite picture, getting things started here on this Tuesday morning, on this New Year's Eve morning, a Happy New Year to you. We continue to watch this big storm system that's impacted the Corn Belt continue to spin away and move off to the east, still impacting parts of the Great Lakes. Still several inches of snow to fall here in parts of the Great Lakes here with some windy conditions continuing. We'll then turn our attention to the southwest here as one piece of the storm system that will be impacting us, and then the other piece a bit off screen here to the northwest. As you look at the precipitation, the radar, what's going on underneath those clouds, again, still some snow falling here across parts of the Great Lakes, parts of the eastern Corn Belt, and then the next wave beginning to make its way ashore here across parts of the Pacific Northwest. Now, with that snow in the Great Lakes, we do still have some areas here that are under winter weather advisories here across primarily parts of Michigan and northern Indiana. That's where another 3 to 6 inches of snow is possible. And then again, being accompanied by 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts coming in on the backside of that storm system. Again, that's the reason for the lake effect snow in this region. As we look at the temperatures here, getting things started on New Year's Eve, we've got temperatures anywhere from near zero across the upper Midwest, parts of the northern plains, down to the upper 30s to near 40 degrees in the Mid-South across parts of Kentucky and Tennessee. And as we take a look at our recent snowfall here, looking at the current U.S. snowpack, beginning to fill things back in across parts of the central and northern plains, into the Dakotas and the upper Midwest, and then again, we'll be filling this area in as well with another several inches of snow to fall across parts of Michigan and the northern portions of some of those eastern Corn Belt states. Now, a quick snapshot look at what we're dealing with here over the next week. This will help kind of tell the story. We've got storm system number 1, we'll call that, making its way out of here. This will be a non-factor here after another 24 to 48 hours. We're then going to watch a couple pieces of the puzzle here come from the northwest and then come from the southwest. So here's the setup here today. As we get into Wednesday, the northern piece here beginning to move into the upper mountains, parts of the upper Rockies here, parts of the central Rockies, delivering some heavy snow to that region. Piece number 2 down here off to the south, that's beginning to bring some rain into parts of South Texas. As we get into Thursday now, the southern piece beginning to move a little bit further north, starting to draw that Gulf of Mexico moisture northward. We've got the second piece, the northern piece is beginning to drop out of the Rockies now and move into the central plains. We then get one big storm system here as we get into Friday. And it's beginning to deliver some heavier precipitation to parts of the eastern Corn Belt, parts of the Mid-South, getting into the Great Lakes with cold air coming in on the backside. That'll begin to deliver some snow to parts of the upper Great Lakes as well. Very similar to what we're seeing today. Not looking for a big corridor of snow going across parts of the Central Plains into the upper Great Lakes, but certainly enough cold air coming in on the backside to begin delivering another couple of inches, another several inches of snow to parts of the Great Lakes. We'll look at some snow accumulation maps here in just a moment, but just to give you kind of a snapshot idea, this would be as we get to Saturday, just of the overall look of this combination of the northern and southern pieces. And we can look at what that looks like here with the jet stream. So we've got piece number 1. This is that first storm system, a very strong jet stream winds associated with that. This again going to begin moving to the east, continuing to move off to the east and out of the Corn Belt over the next 24 to 48 hours. You then see the next trough. This is the southern piece, the northern piece. You see the strong winds beginning to push ashore here. We'll take the drawings off and just play this out over the next 4 to 5 days, watching the evolution. Let's go ahead and we'll bring the cursor back so we can watch it together and time it out here once we get the ability to do that. There it is. Bringing it back to today. We'll watch this first trough beginning to lift off to the north and to the west, digging in across the southern plains. You're seeing the energy from the north coming in now, the very strong jet streak. This is as we get into Wednesday. These then begin to kind of merge across the southern plains into the central plains in the form of one major trough here by the time we get to Friday and Saturday. Here you see it diving in across the central U.S. And that, of course, then what leads to the one area of low pressure here across the Great Lakes beginning to lift off across parts of the Northeast region. So then we can take a look at that here, looking at, of course, what happens when we do this. We begin drawing that Gulf moisture back northward. That is what's going to supply the moisture for the heavy rain across parts of the eastern Corn Belt, the Mid-South, and then that snow on the north side. So in the short term, we can look at the high-resolution WRF model, the high-resolution NAM model. Again, watching the snow across the Great Lakes, across the upper Midwest. This continues to move on off to the east by the time we get to the end of the night into tomorrow morning. Then we begin to turn our attention off to the north. We might see some mixed precipitation or some snow here, or a wintry mix here with freezing rain and snow on the table here as we get into Tuesday night, into Wednesday morning, and then Wednesday afternoon across northern portions of the Corn Belt here from North Dakota into parts of northern Minnesota and Wisconsin. And then, of course, the moisture off to the south beginning to lift north with rain beginning across parts of the far south as we get into Wednesday night and then Thursday morning. This, of course, what it would look like at about noon on Thursday afternoon. Total snow accumulation with this, again, over just the short term, looking at another 3 to 6 inches of snow falling here across parts of the Great Lakes, again, primarily parts of Michigan and then northern Indiana, parts of Ohio picking up possibly an inch or two as well over the next 24 hours. We then may see some of that very light snow falling across parts of the Dakotas here in far northern Dakota, far northern North Dakota, and then northern Minnesota as well. Winds accompanying that, of course, with the first storm system, strong winds gusting 30 to 40 miles per hour across parts of the Great Lakes and the eastern Corn Belt as this system begins to move on off to the east. And then we watch the winds come out of the south in advance of the next storm system. So a windy period here across the Corn Belt. This is Wednesday afternoon. Those southerly winds begin to intensify as we head through Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, and then into Thursday morning, potentially seeing winds gusting out of the south from 40 to 50 miles per hour in a corridor from Oklahoma through Missouri, parts of Iowa, Illinois, into the eastern Corn Belt and the Great Lakes. So that, of course, drawing warm, humid air northward out of the Gulf of Mexico, just supplying the moisture here for another round of heavy precipitation, heavy rain across that corridor, primarily across the southern U.S. into the Ohio River Valley, but still seeing some of that precipitation drawn all the way northward with rain as far north as parts of Wisconsin and Michigan. So strong moisture advection, strong advection of warmer temperatures as well with this second storm system that'll be emerging by the time we get to the late part of the week. Precipitation associated with this, we'll look at the GFS model. Again, this first storm system moving off to the east over the next 24 to 48 hours, finally getting out of the Corn Belt. A very brief quiet period here. Wednesday does look fairly quiet across the Corn Belt. As we get into Thursday, starting to see some of that rain being lifted into the Mid-South and the eastern Corn Belt, the Ohio River Valley. This is noon on Thursday, getting into Thursday evening, Friday night now, getting into Friday morning, Friday afternoon. Now getting into Saturday, seeing some of that colder air, perhaps bringing some wintry precipitation to parts of Illinois, getting into Wisconsin and Michigan. Again, not looking at a significant snowfall event, at least as it looks right now on both the GFS and the European model, but certainly some areas here possibly picking up 3 to 6 inches of snow. And then by the time we get to Saturday and Sunday, this storm system begins to lift off and begin impacting the Northeast. The probability of 3 inches of snow or more accumulating all the way through Monday. So this includes both the first storm system right now across this region and the second storm system that then lifts through as we get into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Looking at the probability for 3 inches of snow or greater being highest, of course, where we see some lake effect snow falling over the next 24 to 48 hours, and then primarily focused in this corridor with that next storm system as well. If we look at 6 inches of snow, again, the probabilities drop off very quickly. We're not looking at a swath of 12 inches of snow across the region here. We're talking more about the 2 to 4, the 3 to 6 inch type snowfall across the Great Lakes. Total liquid precipitation, looking for the corridor of heaviest rain, of course, across parts of the southern U.S., getting into the mid-south, along and south of the Ohio River Valley. That's where we could see anywhere from 1 to 4 inches of rain, the heaviest, more likely south of the Corn Belt. But even parts of the eastern Corn Belt here, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, potentially picking up anywhere from a half inch to an inch of rain with this second storm system. Temperatures, again, I mentioned will warm in advance. There's the warm air advection, and on the backside, we do cool off, but you're noticing a lack of any of those deep blue colors, that blue, the green, the purple that we're talking about for much of October and November. Again, resetting things back to more seasonally appropriate levels, but not looking at any pushes of any deep, Arctic air coming into the Corn Belt over the next 7 to 10 days. Your high temperatures for the day today, New Year's Eve, anywhere from the teens across the upper Midwest, where we've got a very dense snowpack, down to the lower 40s in parts of the Mid-South. Your high temperatures for the day on Wednesday, New Year's Day, back into the 50s across parts of Kansas and Missouri. Looking at temperatures cooling off across the northern plains once again on the backside of this next storm system on Thursday. Friday, warmest day across parts of the eastern Corn Belt here as this next storm system draws warm air northward. Again, this will be accompanied by very strong winds, so you see the 50s, you think beautiful day. Well, the winds will be howling out of the south at this time, and then cooler air starts to filter in by the time we get to Saturday and Sunday. Your overnight lows tonight, waking up tomorrow morning to temperatures in the single digits across the upper Midwest, parts of the northern plains, down to the upper 20s to near freezing across the Mid-South. Much warmer as, again, moisture, warmer air being drawn northward with that next storm system. Thursday morning, temperatures above freezing across a big chunk of the central Corn Belt into the Mid-South. Look at the warm air being drawn northward now. Overnight lows in the 40s, again, well above average, well above where our average high temperatures should be across parts of this area as we wake up on Friday morning, and then cooler air starts to come in by the weekend. As always, Eric Snodgrass will have an in-depth look at the evolution of the next 1 to 2 weeks in our Thursday morning ag forecast video, and I'll be back with your next look at the Corn Belt on Friday. Have a great night, a very safe New Year's holiday, and we'll talk to you in the new year.